Hi everybody. Sorry it's been so long since I've done a new one of these videos. Life just keeps getting busy. What can I say? But I recently was flipping through my wish list on Amazon and got very lucky because this car has been on my list for quite a while. A little bit more than I wanted to spend on it for most of that time. But then sometimes you just luck out checking your list at the right moment and you might get a big break, as I did with this car. So I went ahead and snapped it up, and as if to illustrate the fortunes of the McLaren cars in this weekend's racing, the car was delivered much faster than I expected, and the delivery arrived at our house when we had just left for an afternoon out at the movies. And because there's quote-unquote no secure location to leave it, it had to go back to the post office. And by the time I got home, the post office had closed for the afternoon, and it was a long weekend, as you may know. In the United States, it was Memorial Day weekend. So it was just late enough that I couldn't make it to the post office before they closed, and it meant a nice long weekend that I'd have to wait through before this would be able to make another delivery attempt. And if you follow the racing world, unfortunately things didn't go so well for McLaren in Monaco. And although Fernando Alonso did extremely well in the Indy 500 for a rookie, qualifying 5th, leading a significant number of laps, before, as usual, the Honda engine blew up and let him down. But he performed well enough to get Rookie of the Year due to his performance and overall conduct and so on. So, this car is the McLaren F1 GTR. And I know that name may be slightly confusing, using the term F1 to refer to a road car with fenders. But the original McLaren F1 sports car, I believe, was the first road car to achieve or go faster than 240 miles per hour. And this was back in, I believe it was 1994 when they first started making these. This here is the 1997, and it's the GT1 class car that ran at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, as you can see by these little stickers, as well as the number on the side. And this model is also wearing, as you can see, the Gulf livery, which is an all-time favorite of mine. Obviously, mostly because of the Ford GT40 that ran with the Gulf livery, particularly in 68 and 69 at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So, I'm actually old enough to remember Gulf stations when traveling all over the United States. My family was certainly into travel. So even before I was old enough to drive, I had seen quite a lot of the western half of the United States just through various vacations with my family. And we also happen to have members of our family spread all over. So that meant when you live out in the western half of the United States, the states themselves become extremely large. You can drive for many hours without going from one state to another. You're still in the same one. So yeah, lots and lots of miles of pavement and service stations, little towns. So, but yeah, I've always had a fascination with this car, and it mostly started with, really I would have to say, it became more of a favorite all-time car from playing Gran Turismo. And there's a version of this car with a different livery, with more of the BMW and FINA logo and the checkerboard pattern all over the car in various colors. I have to say that multicolored checkerboard pattern always makes me laugh, because when I was a young teenager, I had a pair of Vans shoes with 3 different color checkerboard pattern on it. I think they were black and white checkerboard, red and white checkerboard, and blue and white checkerboard in various parts of the shoe. So that car livery kind of reminds me of that. Those were good times. But anyway, the car is powered by a V12 engine sitting right here, just barely in front of the rear axle, so it's a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car. Of course, the McLaren F1 GTR also has the unique driver position right in the center. So gives you a nice view and sort of a feeling of balance between the left and the right side of the car. And you may be able to tell, compared to the width of this car is very long. They did refer to these as the long tail. And as you can see, the rear wing is clear back here when the rear axle is right here. So yeah. But just a wonderful car to drive. It just, because of its layout with the engine back here and the rear-wheel drive, it felt extremely easy to rotate the car. So, very often you'd have to set up the car, the suspension geometry and so forth, so that it would try to kind of counteract the rotation tendency to make it a little more balanced and a little easier to get the car to rotate, but not too much. And certainly the road car version of this is not an easy car to drive, and those who have owned them have still been caught out in certain conditions. Some of you may have known that Rowan Atkinson, as in Mr. Bean, owned one of these. I believe he crashed it twice. And Rowan is a very talented driver. If you've ever seen, as you can see, there's a badge here for Top Gear magazine. If you've ever watched one of the more recent shows when, well, recent meaning before they went to the new lineup of presenters, they had Rowan Atkinson on in the star in a reasonably priced car segment, and at the time that he came on, I believe he came on after some other pretty well-known fast celebrity drivers had been on, Tom Cruise and people like that, and yet Rowan still set the fastest time on the board. So, yeah, so if a fairly talented driver still has a difficult time keeping one of these on the road, then you can imagine. Part of the reason is because, this sort of car came before all of the driver aids, all the nannies, the electric nannies that cars all have now. So I'm pretty sure this car would have not had power steering. It certainly had a normal manual gearbox, no traction control or anything like that. So basically, if you make a mistake, especially on a wet road, curvy country road like they have very often in different parts of England, you could easily find yourself stuffed in a hedge backwards. So, but, like I said, if you get it right, this car is a dream to drive, and I've set some of my quicker lap times in my game driving this car, and it's usually a real joy. You constantly have to think about putting in small corrections of opposite lock to keep the car pointed the way you want it to go. So it's very lively, very fun. Alright. Maybe if we have some time left on our 20-minute block, I'm going to go ahead and open up the door. Part of the reason, besides the price drop, that I instantly said, "What are you waiting for?" and got this model is I hadn't really looked close at the features, such as these doors that open up like this, and the detailed inside of the cockpit. You can kind of see that. And there's the driver's seat, which is right in the center. And also this extremely tricky engine cover, which I may not be able to get back off without making a lot of noise, because it kind of had to be shoved in. Yeah, that might be tricky. That was maybe one slight problem with the build quality, is that this is made a little bit too big. So the engine cover kind of has to be wedged in, and I'm a little scared to just yank that open. As you can see, part of it's already coming undone from the rest of it. So yeah, that's a slight build quality problem there. But otherwise, and also a small piece of the engine appears to have come off one side. There are two of these. This little piece of plastic was already detached when I opened the box. But I'll find some super glue and get that put back on where it goes. So, but I hope you enjoyed this little look at this car. Here's the rear end. Yeah. It's just a very lovely car. I'm really pleased with this. So, yep, there you have it. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who's been leaving me comments and encouragement and ideas for videos. I've kept all of them in my inbox, and I'm certainly planning more videos when I have the time, and obviously the more busy my work days get, the less I have the energy to be creative and put together a video. But I hope you'll stay patient with me, and I will try to get some more new content soon. So anyway, again, thank you so much for all the support, and I hope you'll enjoy this lovely car, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.